Welcome back, designers, to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you how to create this dispersion effect on Thanos. Obviously you'll know this from the movies if you have watched them. Today this is going to be a main tutorial on cutting out and then using a tool called Liquify. Liquify is a very powerful effect, and obviously you need to use brushes to create this effect. If you have seen this video before, you'll sort of know what I'm on about, but if not, this will be a full descriptive tutorial on how to create this effect. Now the first thing you're going to need to do is get your images and create your background. So I've got my image here, this is the image, and then I've got my background, which is this size. I'll show you now. Image size, that is the size in pixels, same size as a thumbnail on YouTube basically. Once you've got this, you're going to want to create a gradient. So if we go down to our adjustments and click gradient, we can select black and white from the basics like so, click OK, and then we want to change it to radial and increase the scale to about 300%, and then click reverse. Now we've got our nice gradient tool. That's done. That's the background. I'm going to group those together and call it BG for background. Now that I've got my background, I'm going to cut out my image. So I need to cut Thanos out from this background, and then I'm going to layer mask him out, and then he'll be ready to liquefy. So I'm going to speed this up while you guys watch, so it doesn't take too long for you. Let's get straight into it. Now as you can see, I have cut out the background using my pen tool. I'm just going to create a selection now by doing so, like that, and then I'm just going to layer mask the image out like that. Now we've got our edge tool. Obviously it looks a bit rough around the sides here. I didn't go too finite because basically this is going to be layer masked out so you won't really see it. That's the main reason I didn't do it. And then I'm going to drag him to our background and reduce the size so he fits properly. There we go, center him up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this twice. So Command J, and this is going to show me how these are going to be the layers that I can use for liquefy and then painting him in and out. So let's get straight into that. Right, so I've applied the layer mask to both of my images. Now the top one is going to be liquefy, and then the bottom one is going to be the one that I start painting away. So first we're going to choose the liquefy, and then I'm going to go to filter, then go to liquefy, and then you'll be presented with this menu. And the first tool you need to choose is this one at the top, forward warp tool. And you're just going to need to click and drag Thanos across the screen by doing so. This is going to give us the tools to make this effect that we want. So if I just drag his head up here, and like so, get the colors all over here. And then you're pretty much done for the liquefy. As you can see, it looks very silly, but it works. The next thing you're going to want to do is Command layer mask and then click I. So now that's all gone. Now what we're going to need to do is click layer mask again, but now we're going to need to get our brush tool. I will put these brushes in the description below because you'll need to get certain ones which you won't have built into your Photoshop. These are called explosion brushes, and then I'm going to reduce the size like so, and then I'm just going to start painting away with this. So as you can see, if I change it to right, so once you've got your brush ready to use, you want to turn off the background and then start painting away using your dispersion brush on the edges of of Thanos. So by doing this, you will be able to basically make him look like he is not there. Obviously the particles will still be there. You want to make your brush fairly big, not too big that you can't see it, but fairly big. And then you can keep switching between brushes, like choosing different ones, like different explosions, if you get me. Sort of using them to create your manipulation that you want. I'm going to choose to probably make that a bit smaller, and then just sort of paint. You just need to sort of keep clicking and painting and making sure you can get rid of the background, basically. You just want to do this very subtly, just so it doesn't look too, like, not done properly. you can sort of overdo it, I think. Some people do. It depends on what you want the effect to look like. Like, if you go really small, you can get really in detail like I'm doing now and just paint away at parts of the hand. But if you want it big and not too much painted away so it doesn't look too dispersed, like just at the beginning, then you can do that too. But I'm going to go for quite a dispersed look, just so it's not too unrealistic to what happened in the film. Now, once you've painted away most of the stuff that you want to paint, you are going to need to go to your liquify layer. This is where you actually start making it look like he's like fading away. You want to click on that one, and then you want to change your brush to white. As you'll be able to see now, if I turn this layer on and I change my brush to white, I'm going to need to turn my brush so it's going the other way, and I'm going to make it quite big. So by doing that, you can see that obviously you can see the liquify layer. So this is where you have to be really careful with this. You want to make your brush pretty big, I'd say, about 900 maybe a bit smaller, like so, like that, and then you'll turn it this way, and then you can just sort of start painting it back in like that. As you can see, creating little effects on what it should look like, but obviously you can make your brush smaller as well and just go a bit more in depth and create the effect on the edges. But obviously if you go too in detail, you can start showing out the liquify and where it's being pulled apart. So you only want to do this quite subtly and make your brush small if you are going to do it closely, because obviously you can see here, you can see the dragging starting to happen. So this is where people get this very wrong. You need to make sure that you don't show that liquify effect, otherwise it just sort of ruins the overall thing you're going for. Like, you just need to keep it quite small and just work at it like I'm doing now. So as you can see, it doesn't look great, but it doesn't look bad at all. So I'm going to change my brush now. Now this is something you should probably keep doing quite regularly, and then you can basically manipulate what happens. I'm going to change the size to like that, sort of like that. It's good to get a brush with little bits, little dots and stuff, because then you can sort of show what's happening through the little dots, and then you can just sort of see. If I go like here, I'm just going to show everything that's happening, but if I go like probably around here, I can sort of manipulate it a bit so you can see like the look that I'm going for. Now I'm going to try and find quite an angled brush, because that's probably what's best for this look. If I just reduce the size again, meaning you'll be able to see it, and then I need to make the shape a bit like that. But the problem is, you got to be, as I said, you got to be really careful, because you're just going to show off what's actually like the liquify. But obviously some of that will need to be there, because that is what's happening essentially, is that he's getting dragged off. But then again, you don't want too much of it, because it will just ruin the overall effect. Now you can go back and rework this with the black and white image below. So if you change to black again, you can sort of paint away some of this stuff and just increase your brush size. You can sort of paint away what's happening. Maybe change it to white. You can sort of paint back in the background like that. But you don't want too much of this going on. So if I change to black, I'm just going to start painting away at what I've done. And then you can see it just sort of makes the effect a little bit better, a little bit more grainy. And then I can go back and change it to white, change the angle around again, and start painting it back in again. And then you can get sort of reworking the image again. There's lots of different ways you can do this, but I think if you go back and rework it a few times, then it looks a lot better than just doing it really quickly and showing the liquify through that. I see so many images of this, just people adding in the liquify and just making it look not very good. See, it's pulling the image like there. Now we don't really want that, so if I change back to black, then I can just change my brush around again and then just sort of paint that away. See, like so. There's so many different techniques you can use. I'm just gonna try and make sure that I add in a bit by his face, because it's where the main part of it's happening. So like that, maybe a bit like that. You want to try and, it's hard to make sure that you get it right, but if you can get it right, it will look good. As you can see, this is how you create a dispersion effect. Obviously I've done as good as I think I can. Obviously there's always more you can do, and if you keep painting away like so, if you do that, then you can sort of change it to black and turn the brush around, pull away at it, but you're never going to get that perfect effect that you want probably until you master this a few times. So you got to do this a few times before it'll actually work. Once you get it right, it will work very nicely and you'll be able to get a nice effect like so. Obviously you don't want too much of the liquefied to show through, but you want bits of it because that's how you get this dispersion effect. But I think that looks pretty good. I'm just gonna, now thing I'm gonna do is add a camera raw filter. So I'm gonna click new layer, then I'm gonna go edit, fill, and then 50% gray, and then I'm gonna go to filter, camera raw filter, and I'm gonna add some grain over the top just to bring the whole thing together as I've shown before, like so. That'll do, I think, okay. And then I'm going to overlay that, and then as you can see it shows all the texture. Now if I just reduce the opacity a little bit, it just brings it all together, and if I really want to I could increase the texture on Thanos as well, but I think that's fine for now. Maybe add a contrast, bit of brightness, maybe contrast like so. It just shows off the effect a bit better really. But that's all for this video, guys. I hope you've enjoyed and learnt something. This is the Liquify tutorial. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.